3,000 years ago, the oldest beings in the galaxy gathered on a world called Theron Prime. These beings were called the Eldest. They were not made of flesh and blood like other creatures. They were made of pure light and energy. They had lived for millions of years. They had watched empires rise and fall, like waves in an ocean. The great chamber on Theron Prime was filled with representatives from every powerful species in the galaxy. The Vethkai were there, tall reptilian warriors with scales like black iron. They commanded the largest fleet ever built. The crystalline Dominion sent their speaker, a being made of living crystal whose mind was connected to billions of others. The Urshen came too, mysterious creatures who could tear holes in space itself and step between dimensions. These three powers ruled the galaxy. They had conquered thousands of worlds. They feared nothing. The oldest of the eldest floated to the center of the chamber. His form was like a small sun, ancient and tired but still burning bright. "We have called you here to give a warning," he said. His voice did not come from a mouth. It simply appeared in every mind present. "There is a small world at the edge of your territories. It circles a yellow star in what you call the Orion Arm. The creatures there call their world Earth. The next in, a hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a blue and green planet, covered in water and clouds. Beautiful, but small. Unimportant. The beings on this world are primitive," the eldest continued. "They have only just discovered how to make fire. They live in caves and hunt animals with stone tools. They fight each other constantly. They die young from disease and hunger." The Vethkai High Commander laughed. It was a harsh sound, like rocks grinding together. "You called us here to warn us about cave dwellers? This is a waste of our time." The crystalline speaker's facets flashed with agreement. "Our hive has calculated the threat level of this species. It is 0. They will likely destroy themselves before they ever leave their world." But the eldest did not laugh. His light grew brighter, and the chamber fell silent. "Listen carefully," he said. "Do not contact these creatures. Do not try to conquer them. Do not even watch them too closely. Leave them alone. Forget they exist." "Why?" asked the Urshen delegate. "What could hairless primates possibly do to us?" The eldest was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was heavy, with something none of them understood. It might have been fear. "We have existed since the first stars were born. We have seen every kind of life this universe has created. We have watched species grow powerful and then fade away. This is the natural order. All flames eventually die." He moved closer to the hologram of Earth. "But these creatures are different. They carry something inside them that we have never seen before. An ember that cannot be put out. No matter how many times they fall, they stand back up. No matter how much they suffer, they keep going. They do not know how to give up. They do not understand the concept of impossible." The Vethkai commander waved his clawed hand dismissively. "You speak in riddles, Old One. Every species fights to survive. That is nothing special." "No," said the eldest. "You do not understand. Other species fight to survive when there is hope. When the odds become too bad, they surrender. They accept defeat. They die quietly. It is the logical thing to do." His light flickered. "Humans do not do this. When there is no hope, they fight harder. When they are certain to lose, they become more dangerous. When you hurt them, they do not become afraid. They become angry, and their anger does not burn out. It grows." The chamber was silent now. Even the proud Vethkai had stopped laughing. "If you leave them alone," the eldest continued, "they will spread among the stars in their own time. They will learn. They will grow. Perhaps they will become wise. Perhaps they will become partners to you all. But if you make them your enemy," he paused, "if you make them your enemy, you will create something that cannot be stopped. You will face a species that will never surrender. Never forget, and never forgive. You will have started a war that can only end one way. And what way is that? Asked the crystalline speaker. With their victory, or with their complete extinction. There is no middle ground with humans. They do not know how to accept it. The eldest began to fade. His time in this galaxy was ending. He and his kind were leaving for the spaces between universes, never to return. We have given you our warning, he said as his light grew dim. The choice is yours. But remember our words. The ember cannot be put out. Humanity cannot be stopped. And then the eldest were gone. The great chamber erupted in noise. The Vethkai laughed and called the old ones fools. The crystalline dominion calculated that the warning was based on faulty data. The Urshen returned to their dimension games and forgot about the little blue world entirely. Within a year, no one spoke of the eldest's warning anymore. It became a joke, a story told to children. The cave dwellers of Earth? A threat to the galaxy? The idea was too ridiculous to consider. 3,000 years passed. On Earth, humans discovered fire, then farming, then writing, then science. They built cities and tore them down. They made war and made peace. They nearly destroyed themselves a dozen times but always pulled back from the edge. And then, one day, they looked up at the stars and decided to reach for them. The galaxy had forgotten the warning. It was about to remember. The colony ship New Horizons was not a warship. It was a dream made of metal and hope. 10,000 people lived inside it. Families, scientists, teachers, children. The youngest passenger was only 4 months old, a baby girl named Maya who had never seen Earth except in pictures. The ship moved slowly through space. It would take 50 years to reach its destination. A small planet with blue oceans and green forests. The people on board did not mind the long journey. They played music. They grew gardens in special rooms. They taught their children about the new world waiting for them. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood at the observation window every evening. She was 73 years old. She had spent her entire life working on this mission, getting the funding, designing the ship, choosing the crew. She would not live to see the new colony built. But that was okay. Her grandchildren would build it. That was enough. We actually did it, she whispered to the stars. We're actually going. She did not know that Vethkai sensors had already found her ship. High Commander Vorthax sat in his command chair and studied the human vessel on his screen. His scales were dark with age, and his eyes held nothing but contempt. He had conquered 40 worlds. He had killed millions. This small ship of primitives did not interest him. What is it? He asked his officer. A colony vessel, Commander. From the planet Earth. They call themselves humans. Vorthax remembered the old story about the eldest warning. He almost laughed. These were the creatures the ancient ones had feared? This fragile ship, with its primitive engines? They are entering our territory, the officer said. Should we contact them? Warn them to turn back? Vorthax thought about it for exactly 2 seconds. No, he said. Destroy them. Let it serve as a message to any other primitives who think they can enter Vethkai space. Commander, there are children on that ship. Our scans show. I gave an order. The officer bowed his head and pressed the button. On the New Horizons, alarms suddenly screamed. Dr. Vasquez was thrown to the floor as the ship shook. Through the window, she saw bright lights approaching fast. Missiles. There was no time to run, no time to pray, no time to say goodbye. The ship exploded in a ball of fire. 10,000 lives ended in an instant. Maya, the 4-month-old baby, never even woke up. Dr. Vasquez's last thought was of her grandchildren who would now never see their new world. The Vethkai recorded everything. They broadcast the destruction across all frequencies as a warning. Stay away. This is our space. On Earth, people watched the broadcast on their screens. They saw the ship burn. They heard the final transmissions. Screaming, crying, and then silence. For a moment, the entire planet was quiet. And then something changed. It was not like the movies where leaders gave great speeches and armies marched to war. It was quieter than that, and much more frightening. Every country on Earth stopped fighting with each other. Every political party stopped arguing. Every person who had something to offer stepped forward. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, factory workers, teachers, everyone. No one told them to do this. No law was passed. No order was given. It simply happened, like a heartbeat, like breathing. Humanity looked at the ashes of their children and made a decision together, without words. We will answer this. Within 6 months, the first weapons were built. They were not elegant. They were not beautiful. Engineers threw out the rule book and built things that should not have worked. Engines that burned too hot. Guns that fired too fast. Armor that was too heavy. The designs made no sense by any logical standard. But humans were not feeling logical. Within a year, the first warship launched. It was called the Remembrance. The name was written in the languages of every person who had died on the New Horizons. The HFY Science Council studied the ship from a distance. They sent their report to High Commander Vorthox. The design is inefficient, the report said. Too many backup systems. Too many weapons. The power core is dangerously unstable. This ship is an abomination of engineering. It should not function. Vorthax was pleased. He sent 6 cruisers to destroy this ugly human ship. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When it was over, all 6 HFY cruisers were burning wreckage. The Remembrance was damaged but still flying. As it limped back toward human space, its crew sent a message on all frequencies. This is humanity. You killed our children. You killed our dreams. You laughed while they burned. The transmission paused. We are coming, and we do not forgive. We do not forget, and we do not stop. Vorthax watched the message with his officers. For the first time, in his long life, he felt something cold in his stomach. Not fear. Not yet. But the beginning of doubt. He remembered the old story about the eldest. About the ember that could not be put out. Increase ship production, he ordered quietly. Double our patrols. His officer looked surprised. Commander? For these primitives? Vorthax stared at the screen where the ugly human ship was slowly moving away. He thought about how it had fought. No hesitation. No retreat. No surrender even when its shields failed and its hull was burning. Just do it, he said. The war had not officially begun. But something had started that could not be stopped. The ember was burning now. And it would not go out. The Galactic Conclave had not met in emergency session for 300 years. The last time was when a star exploded and threatened to destroy 2 civilizations. This time, the threat was smaller. Just one species. Just one little world. But the Great Chamber was full, and fear hung in the air like smoke. Ambassador Kethra of the Crystalline Dominion stood at the center. Her body was made of living crystal, thousands of facets catching the light. Through her, billions of crystalline minds watched and listened. We have studied them, she began. The humans. We have analyzed everything. Their biology, their history, their psychology. We needed to understand what we are dealing with. She waved her hand. And a hologram of a human appeared. It looked so weak. Soft skin. No claws. No armor. No natural weapons at all. They should be harmless, Kethra said. By every measure, they should be one of the weakest species in the galaxy. The HFY delegation shifted uncomfortably. They had lost 47 ships to humans in the past 12 years. They did not feel like they were fighting a weak species. But they are not harmless, Kethra continued. They have differences. Things we have never seen in any other species. things that make them very, very dangerous. The hologram changed. It showed a human chasing an animal across an open plain. The animal was faster. It ran and ran, but the human kept following. Hours passed. The animal grew tired. It stumbled. It fell. The human walked up to it calmly and killed it. This is called persistence predation, Kethra explained. Most predators are fast. They chase, they catch, or they give up. Humans do not give up. They follow their prey until it dies of exhaustion. They are built for endurance. They can keep going when everything else has stopped. The chamber was silent. Now look at this. The hologram changed again. It showed human history. Wars, plagues, disasters, millions of dead, cities burning. They should have died so many times, Kethra said. Ice ages nearly froze them. Diseases killed half their population multiple times. They split atoms and almost burned their world. Any rational species would have been destroyed. She paused. But every time they suffered, they came back stronger. Their worst disasters created their greatest unity. When they share pain, they do not fall apart. They bond together. We call this trauma bonding. Hurting them makes them more dangerous, not less. The Urshen delegate spoke, his voice like wind through broken glass. All species fight when threatened. No, Kethra said. You do not understand. Watch. The hologram showed a human battle. A soldier was trapped. His weapon was empty. He was surrounded by enemies. There was no chance of survival, no hope of victory. The soldier smiled. And then, he detonated explosives strapped to his body, killing himself and every enemy around him. This is what they call spite, Kethra said. They will destroy themselves to hurt their enemy, even when there is nothing to gain, even when they have already lost. The concept does not translate into any of our languages. We do not have a word for it because we cannot imagine wanting to do it. The chamber erupted in noise. Delegates shouted at each other. Some called it impossible. Others called it insanity. Kethra waited for silence. There is one more thing, she said quietly. Perhaps the most important thing. The hologram showed humans building. Ships, cities, hospitals, schools. It showed them helping each other after disasters. It showed parents teaching children. It showed old people smiling at babies. They have something inside them that we have never seen before. When everything is lost, when there is no logical reason to continue, when any sensible creature would accept defeat, they keep going. They believe tomorrow might be better. They believe their children might live free. They believe the impossible is possible. She let her words sink in. Our scientists have studied this. They have given it a name in the human language. Honor to matter. This is mater faunan. Honor to matter. This is mater. This is mater. Honor to matter. Honor to matter. The hologram displayed a single word. Hope. This is their greatest weapon, Kethra said. Not their ships, not their bombs. This. As long as one human believes there is a chance, they will fight. And they always believe there is a chance. Always. The Vethkai High Commander rose. He was the grandson of Vorthax, who had ordered the destruction of the New Horizons all those years ago. Then we must kill them all, he said simply. Every single one. Before they grow stronger. On round. The Urshen delegate nodded slowly. For once, I agree with the Vethkai. This species is a threat to everything we have built. They must be eliminated. Kethra's facets flickered with something like sadness. The crystalline dominion agrees. We must act together. All three of our empires. We must combine our forces and end this threat while we still can. And so it was decided. The three most powerful civilizations in the galaxy would unite for one purpose: The complete destruction of humanity. They would bring 40,000 warships. They would bring weapons that could crack planets. They would bring armies beyond counting. They believed it would be enough. They were wrong. As the conclave ended and the delegates returned to their empires to prepare for war, one old HFY historian found an ancient record in the archives. It was the warning of the eldest, recorded 3,000 years ago. The ember cannot be put out, he read aloud. Humanity cannot be stopped. He thought about sending it to the High Commander. But what was the point? The decision was made. The war was coming. He put the record away and went to help build warships like everyone else. The galaxy was about to learn what the eldest had always known. Some fires cannot be put out. Some species cannot be stopped, not because they are the strongest, but because they refuse to accept any other option. The war began on a Tuesday. 40,000 ships from 3 empires jumped into human space at the same moment. It was the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. The plan was simple: overwhelm the humans with numbers, destroy their worlds, end the threat. Forever. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the human flagship, the Defiance. She was 52 years old. Her grandmother had been on the New Horizons. She looked at the enemy fleet filling her screen. So many ships that they blocked out the stars. How many? She asked quietly. 40,000, Admiral, give or take. She nodded. Humanity had 300 ships. All ships, she said into the communication system. You know why we are here. You know what they did. You know what they want to do. They think numbers will save them. They think we will run. She smiled. It was not a happy smile. Show them what we are. The Battle of Saul lasted 3 days. When it was over, humanity had lost 200 ships. The enemy had lost 2,000. The survivors retreated to regroup, shocked and confused. How had primitives hurt them so badly? But this was only the beginning. The war lasted 33 years. Every year, the enemy attacked. Every year, humanity bled. Cities burned. Worlds died. Billions of people lost their lives. The names became a list of horrors that children would memorize for generations. New Tokyo. Gone. The HFY burned it from orbit and laughed. The Mars colonies. Gone. The Crystalline Dominion sent a hive ship to consume every living thing. Europa Station. Gone. The Urshen opened a dimensional rift and let the cold of empty space flood in. Each time the humans suffered, the enemy expected them to surrender. Each time, the opposite happened. When New Tokyo burned, recruitment tripled. When Mars fell, scientists worked harder. When Europa died, the survivors fought more fiercely. The enemy could not understand it. General Vorthax III, grandson of the commander who started the war, recorded his thoughts after the Battle of Proxima in year 17. We won today. By every measure, we won. We killed 10 of them for every one of us. We destroyed their station. We broke their fleet. His voice sounded tired, confused. But when we scanned for survivors, do you know what we found? They were already rebuilding, already training new pilots, already building new ships. The wreckage was still burning, and they were already planning their next attack. He paused. We kill them and they do not stop. We hurt them and they do not surrender. I asked a prisoner once why they keep fighting when they cannot win. Do you know what he said? 1. The recording was quiet for a moment. He said, "We do not need to win. We just need to make sure you lose." Aska. Aska. And then he smiled at me. While he was dying, he smiled. Year after year, humanity learned from their enemies. They stole Urshen dimensional technology and used it to trap entire fleets in pocket universes. They sent chaos code into the crystalline network, making billions of connected minds go insane and tear themselves apart. They collapsed stars into weapons and threw them at enemy planets. When the enemy used terrible weapons, humanity built more terrible weapons. When the enemy committed horrors, humanity answered with horrors of their own. They became harder, colder, more dangerous. The enemy had wanted to destroy monsters. Instead, they had created them. In year 23, the Urshen made a desperate plan. They would open a portal and drop a black hole into Earth's sun. It would kill humanity's homeworld and break their spirit forever. The portal opened. 17 human pilots flew into it. They carried nuclear weapons. They knew they would die. They knew there was no coming back. Captain James Okonkwo was the last one through. He was 26 years old. He had a wife and a baby daughter he would never see again. His final transmission was recorded for history. My name is James Okonkwo. I am a human. I want to live. I want to see my daughter grow up. I want to grow old with my wife. But some things matter more than what I want. His ship flew deeper into the rift. Weapons armed. You tried to kill our son. Our home. Our children. Did you really think we would let you? He fired. The rift collapsed. The black hole was lost in the space between dimensions. Earth was saved. 17 pilots died smiling. In year 30, the war changed. Humanity stopped just defending. They started attacking. They pushed into enemy territory. They freed slaves from Vethkai worlds. They disrupted crystalline hive networks. They sealed Urshen dimensional gates. The three empires had lost half their military strength. Their economies were breaking. Their people were tired of war. Humanity had lost 18 billion souls. Almost half their total population. They were building ships faster than ever. In year 33, the enemy sent a message asking for peace. Admiral Chen, now 85 years old and still fighting, received the transmission. She read it carefully. Then she called a meeting of human leadership. They want to surrender, she said. They are offering to end the war. They will give us territory. They will pay reparations. They will leave us alone. The room was quiet. What should we tell them? Someone asked. Chen thought about her grandmother, who had died on the New Horizons. She thought about New Tokyo and Mars and Europa. She thought about James Okonkwo and the 17 pilots. She thought about 18 billion dead. Part of her wanted to keep fighting, to make them pay for every life lost, to burn their worlds like they had burned hers. But another part of her remembered why humans had gone to the stars in the first place. Not for war. For hope. For a better tomorrow. Tell them yes, she said finally. But on our terms, not theirs. The war was over. Humanity had won. Not because they were the strongest. Not because they had the best weapons. Not because they were smarter, or faster, or more advanced. They won because they refused to lose. The ember could not be put out. The Galactic Conclave Chamber had not changed in 3,000 years. The same ancient stones. The same high ceiling. The same seats arranged in a circle around the speaking platform. But everything else was different now. The Vethkai delegation was smaller than before. Their empire had shrunk. Their pride was broken. The crystalline dominion had lost contact with half their hive minds and would never fully recover. The Urshen barely left their home dimension anymore, afraid of what waited outside. And in the center of the chamber, where no human had ever stood before, Admiral Lin Wei Chen waited to speak. She was the granddaughter of Admiral Sarah Chen. She was also the great-great-granddaughter of someone who had died on the New Horizons, so long ago that it felt like ancient history now. She was 60 years old, with gray hair and calm eyes. She had fought in the last 5 years of the war. She had seen things that would give her nightmares forever. But today she was not here to fight. Today she was here to build something new. Thank you for receiving me, she said. Her voice was quiet, but carried through the entire chamber. I know this is difficult. The war cost all of us more than we can measure. Trillions dead across all species. Worlds destroyed. Civilizations damaged in ways that will take centuries to heal. Closure. End quote. The alien delegates watched her silently, some with fear, some with hate, some with something that might have been respect. You asked us once, through your diplomats, a question. Lin Wei Chen continued. You asked why we would not surrender when the odds were impossible, why we kept fighting when we had already lost, by every logical calculation. She paused. The truth is, we do not calculate when to give up. There is no formula, no threshold where we decide the cost is too high. We fought because we could not imagine not fighting. We fought because our children deserved a chance to live free. We fought because giving up is simply not something we know how to do. She walked to the center of the platform and activated a hologram. It showed an ancient recording, corrupted by time, but still readable. The image of a being made of light appeared. The eldest. We found this in your archives, Lin Wei Chen said. It was buried deep. Almost forgotten. A warning given 3,000 years ago, before any of us were born. The recording played. The ancient voice filled the chamber once more. Leave them alone, for they carry an ember that cannot be put out. If you make them your enemy, you will create something that cannot be stopped. The chamber was completely silent. Your ancestors ignored this warning, Lin Wei Chen said. They attacked our colony ship. They killed our children. They tried to wipe us from the universe. And in doing so, they created exactly what the eldest predicted. She turned off the hologram. We could have destroyed you. After the war, we had the ships. We had the weapons. We had 33 years of anger and grief pushing us forward. We could have burned your worlds like you burned ours. We could have made you feel everything we felt. She looked at the Vethkai High Commander. He was the great-grandson of the one who had destroyed the New Horizons. He looked old now. Tired. Defeated. But we chose not to. The chamber stirred. Confusion. Surprise. Why? Asked the crystalline speaker. We gave you no mercy. Why would you give us any? Lin Wei Chen smiled. It was a sad smile, but also something more. Something warmer. Because destruction is not who we want to be. The ember inside us. It can burn things down. But it can also light the way forward. It can warm those who are cold. It can bring hope to those who have none. She spread her hands. We did not come to the stars to make war. We came because we wanted to see what was out there. We came because we dreamed of something bigger than ourselves. The war made us hard. It made us dangerous. But it did not change who we are at our core. She stepped forward. We are humans. We are stubborn and foolish, and sometimes cruel. We hold grudges, and we fight too much, and we break things we should protect. But we also love fiercely. We build things that last. We lift each other up when we fall. And we never, ever stop hoping for a better tomorrow. The chamber was quiet enough to hear hearts beating. You have a choice, Lin Wei Chen said. You can be our enemies. You can spend the next 1,000 years afraid of us, rebuilding your armies, waiting for the next war. We will be waiting too. And next time, there will be no mercy. She paused. Or you can be our partners. You can help us build something new, something better. The galaxy is big enough for all of us. There are wonders out there that none of us have seen, problems that we could solve together, a future that we could share. She looked around the chamber, meeting every set of eyes, every crystal facet, every dimensional shimmer. The eldest were right. We cannot be stopped, but we can choose to stop ourselves. We can choose to build instead of destroy. We can choose hope instead of fear. Her voice softened. Give us a reason to make that choice. Help us become what we were meant to be. Not conquerors, not destroyers, explorers, dreamers, friends. She stood in the silence for a long moment. Then the Vethkai High Commander stood. He was old and broken, and everything he had been taught said that this was weakness, that he should spit at this human and her talk of peace. But he was tired of war. His people were tired of war. We accept, he said quietly. We will try. One by one, the other delegations agreed. Not because they wanted to, not because they trusted humans, but because they had no other choice. And maybe, just maybe, because they saw something in Lin Wei Chen's eyes that they wanted to believe in. Hope. 1,000 years later, an ancient being of light drifted through the rebuilt conclave. The eldest had returned, curious to see what had become of the galaxy they had left behind. They found humans everywhere, not as conquerors, but as explorers, as teachers, as partners. The same ember that had driven them to terrible war now drove them to build hospitals on distant worlds, to share knowledge freely, to reach out hands in friendship. The youngest, eldest, turned to the oldest. "Did you know it would end this way?" she asked. The ancient one pulsed with something like warmth. "We knew only that they could not be stopped," he said. "What they chose to do with that gift was always up to them. Fire can destroy, but it can also light the darkness." He watched a human child playing with a young Vethkai, both of them laughing at some joke that transcended language. "It seems they chose well." The eldest faded back into the space between stars, content at last. The ember still burned. It would burn forever.